Hello and welcome again to this live coding session for Runes of Aereal. And in this series of videos we're going to be talking about crafting. We're going to create a number of spellbooks and an interface to craft items. So the idea is this, that during the gameplay the player will be able to pick up a number of things like a worm, a mushroom, an empty scroll, a caterpillar, a pinecone, etc. And also he will be able to pick up a number of spellbooks. So I've imported some of these items here, and I've imported here a number of spellbooks as well. The idea is that the spellbook will contain a recipe to craft something. So for example, an empty scroll, a caterpillar and a frog leg might combine to craft a scroll of life, for example. So the first step I already took in this process is combine these things here into a crafting family. Let's go down and see the families. Into a crafting family. So here we can see that it has a name, a description, a sale value and a purchase value. So in the shop you might be able to purchase mushrooms or sell mushrooms. I've just indicated a price here, something arbitrary. We can tweak this in the future. And I've also created spellbooks as a family. But for now it has no special instance variables except for location. Location is primarily used to put things on an interface where we need to distinguish between the location of a spellbook on the interface. So that's not really got something to do with the crafting abilities. That's something we'll be creating right now. So for these spellbooks I would be editing the family instances, and there's a lot of things we need to say about a spellbook. For example, we use a spellbook name and spellbook description, for example, also a string, and then a result object type. So what are we going to create using this spellbooks? And then ingredient 1 and ingredient 2 and ingredient 3. So that's it. We've created 6 instance variables. In the spellbook name we will indicate a name for that spellbook and what it does in the description. This is for the code to know what to spawn, what to create when the crafting occurs. And those are the object types of the player will need to create this result object type, let's say. So let's configure one. Now we've given all of those spellbooks those instance variables. It's time to create one. So spellbook 1 here. Let's do something like, we want to create a scroll of life. I think it's called scroll of life. Let's see here, scroll of life. This is what we want to create. Let me copy that to the clipboard really fast. I go back to crafting, and this is what we are going to create. Healing spellbook. This spellbook contains a recipe for a scroll of life. So what we need there is an empty scroll. Crafting empty scroll. Copy that to the clipboard and paste it here. Let's just make my example of earlier. I was just saying something, but that's good enough. So here is how we configured the first spellbook. Now let's configure 2 or 3 more spellbooks to be able to test the game eventually. So let's make recipes to create other scroll. For example, a protector scroll. We want this one here. This is the result object type. Book of Shields, for example. This book contains a recipe to craft a protector scroll, for example. And once again, we'll need an empty scroll, like that. We'll create a walnut, crafting a walnut, and a feather. Just picking stuff here, doesn't really matter. We can change that in the future if we have some better ideas. And I'll do one more. For example, the energize scroll. The energize scroll here. This is the energetics book. The energetics book. This book contains a recipe for an energetics scroll. Good enough. And then we pick an empty scroll. And we do a bone, for example, and a worm. Nope, that's not correct. And a worm. So that's good. We've created some instance variables, and now we've configured already 3 books. And it's good enough to start testing. And let's save this. So the next thing we want to do really is before we create an interface for crafting, what we're going to do is I'm going to change the inventory interface a little bit, because if you remember from the series for the interface, when we show the spellbooks right now, the spellbooks don't show a lot of things. Crafting don't show a lot of things neither. Here we do have some useful name below the artifacts, and we also have some description here in the preview, and we're going to add that for crafting as well. So let's see, if we go back to crafting, we do see that crafting items have a name and a description, and now we also have a name and a description for spellbooks. So if we go back to the interface here, and we see that we have a function. We should have a function to show the preview and also to refresh the inventory. So if you refresh the inventory, then we have a different section to refresh cards. We have a different section to refresh artifacts, which already work pretty well. But in terms of crafting, we don't have something very nice, because the preview text contains the object type name. And actually what we want, if we do that, we want the crafting name, like that. And the spellbooks have the same problem. Spellbooks.spellbook name, like that. So let's see if that makes a difference. That should make a difference. A worm and a mushroom, and a healing spellbook and the Book of Shields. Now we see we only have those 2 here, and that's because we have put something in place here at the start of the layout. I believe it is not interaction. We're sitting in interaction. Okay, that's not good, Bart. Let's collapse all of those things to have a better overview. And here we have it. The spellbooks that also add spellbook 3, because also for spellbook 3 we added some useful stuff. go to the inventory and check if spellbook 3 is in there. Yes, but it's somehow not showing the correct, probably because it's not spellbook 3 we've been doing spellbook 4. Okay, very nice. Let's do that. Spellbook 4. Okay, that's it. That'll work probably. Now what we want to do is also change the show preview item. We've already got a show preview for cards and for artifacts, like this. We've got one for crafting, but it doesn't really do a lot. We need to copy this. I press B for a sub-event, and I paste all of this. And then we change artifacts to crafting. And this also here to crafting. We do that because, of course, we're picking the last crafting and we're not longer picking the last artifact. And we set the category of this preview text to preview, and we set the preview text to not the artifact name, but to crafting name, and a new line, and then crafting description. That's it. And we also press the B button here, and we copy all of those actions, we paste them here, and here instead of crafting we also say spellbooks, and the same thing here, and here we also need spellbooks.spellbook name and spellbooks.spellbook description. So that should solve the issue here. Worm and worm. That's good. So there's a little overlap here and stuff, but that's something we can change later on. So I see this doesn't clear up. See these things, it's a little bug. Let's see how that comes. So it seems these preview text keep on appearing here, even though I switch to a different section. So that means that switching sections doesn't remove preview text. So let's see. We go over here and we create preview text, and the category of the preview text is preview. And if we search for the function that refreshes the interface, you can see it destroys preview text with category label, but it does no such thing with category preview. So let's change that to an or is a pipe, like that. So we say, copy this, and we say category equals label or category equals preview. Now let's run that. Okay, that seems to be working. Let's see. This completes the first part of our journey into crafting for Runes of Aereal. I hope you liked it. As always, please like and subscribe. And if you want the full source code of this game, do follow me on Patreon, support me on Patreon. See you in the next video.